Join us at Women of Courage and celebrate the achievements of women. In the upcoming months, I am going to change our format significantly. This year, we will exhaust three subjects: breast cancer in black women, voting, and the subjects for black men. Each of these ideas and subjects is essential for the black community. Our survival depends on the health of black women, our willingness to vote, no matter what, and the fortitude and determination of black males to develop. We might as well face it. The survival of any community depends on the mental and physical health of both the female and male. Children need both their father and mothers, and the community needs happy, substantial families to survive. No culture can survive without either. I want you to join me in our discussions. I want women to realize that the survival of their children is the only proof that they ever existed. Think about what I just said. Your children are the only proof that you ever existed on this earth. So when you are careless about your health and die before your time, the survival of your children is greatly reduced because they will be placed in foster care where they can be abused mentally and physically. I want men to join in learning about breast cancer and try to save the lives of their mothers, sisters, aunts, cousins, and grandmothers. I want men to begin to listen to subjects that can greatly improve their lives. I am going to play certain speeches regarding the need to vote. There will be speeches of Obama, Stacey Abrams, and others. I am also going to discuss Shirley Chisholm, Constance Baker Motley. She is the first African American woman to ever become a federal judge. All in all, I hope you will enjoy the new format and be greatly encouraged in your life. Also, thank you for listening and growing with us. Before we begin, we're going to take a few moments to collect ourselves and to relax before we engage into our discussion. What we need to do is to focus now on bringing positive energy into our lives and into the world. The energy that we project every day is the same energy that we get back. We have all seen those people that can walk into a room and they glow. People want to be around them. People feel better being in their presence. That's the energy that we need to create. And once we learn how to do this, our lives will be filled with greatness. We will attract that positive energy, and how we can do this is by changing our outlook, meeting every day with gratitude, thankfulness, optimism, and once you do this, you will see a change in yourself. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. Think about everything positive in your life: family, friends, a career, your faith. All of this is how you start your day. Every morning when you wake up, I want you to think about what is positive in your life. I want you to list 10 reasons why your life is amazing. You will see the change. You will be changed. You will begin to attract life's blessings. Lead with gratitude. Be thankful and think positive. The Women of Courage show is being broadcast by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries to help you problem solve, to help you dream again, to help you believe that anything is possible. We want you to believe that you do not have to marry the first man you meet just to get someone to take care of you. You do not have to live a life of drudgery. You can educate yourself. All you have to do is learn to read competently. We want you to take a chance on yourself. Stop believing all the soothsayers around you that have never left a state in their lives. People who do not have courage to fly. People who only think of lying, cheating, and stealing. You can live an exciting life. All you have to do is believe that you can make your dreams come true. You do not have to go to bed with someone you despise day in and day out. You have the right to marry someone that you can talk to someone that believes in you and has faith in you as a human being. In other words, you do not have to settle for just anyone. But what you must do is strive toward your goal. You must be goal oriented. You must organize yourself. You must be clear about what you want in life and why you want such a life. All of us are made up of dreams. As our dreams unfold in our lives, our spirit soars. Realizing our dreams becomes a problem because oftentimes we are beaten down by our friends and family. We are beaten down at school by people laughing at us because of our shoe size, our ear size, our breast size, the clothes we wear, etc. We are beaten down by people saying nothing will come of our lives. We are beaten down when our mothers and grandmothers constantly say that we're going to be just like our father, an inmate in prison. Many of us are also discouraged when our mothers are inattentive. She is wrapped up in her new boyfriend. But life anew is possible. It is my job to encourage you to go as far as you can dream and as far as your dreams can take you. It is my job to get you to believe in life again. I am sick and tired of people failing at life just because they are around negative speaking and negative acting people. Do not let the failure of other people make you lose confidence in yourself. Yes, you may be surrounded by poverty, but you must look for a way out. The book, If You Believe in God, You Do Not Belong in Prison, will help you. What you must do above all else is learn to read competently. You must read, and read. Anyone who laughs at you for reading, you need to leave that person alone. I do not care if it's your mother. Anyone who discourages you, you are to stop all association. Man is not different than plants. We need encouragement to grow as plants need water to thrive. You are to leave foolish, stupid people alone. Their ignorance will weigh you down or even get you killed. Sit down and think how you can avoid these people, especially if they're in your family. If you are overwhelmed with the tiring feeling that feels as if you're carrying a bag of stone around every morning when you get out of bed and think how you'll have to spend another living life you're not passionate about, the books I suggest are the perfect solution for your unique needs. Not only will we help you realize why these feelings overwhelm you and what you can do to change it, but they will also teach you how to live a life of strength, courage, fearlessness in order to realize all of your dreams. If you are lacking the attitude and psychology, proper resource or vision to make your dreams a reality, combined with dissatisfaction with the execution of your plans, but you remain firmly dedicated to making your ambition a reality and creating the life you deserve, you will certainly derive the most benefit from professional, incredible content within these books. Contents that will assist you in achieving the results that you are after. You are never to give up on yourself. Are you ready to leave your future to chance? Of course not. Take your life in your hand and learn all the necessary tools, mindset, strategies used by the men and women of courage used in order to live the life of their dream. Change your life with our book starting today.
One of my major passions right now is voting. My mother, who was from Manning, South Carolina, the last words she said to me was, "Do not let them take away our right to vote," before she died. African American people keep fighting the same fights over and over again. The idea that my 92-year-old mother had seen people slain and beaten because they were trying to exercise their right to vote. And now here in 2019, we're fighting for the same thing, 100 years or so later. Same thing, only dressed up a little differently, but the same thing. If people are not allowed to vote, or when they're blocked from voting, then it makes it impossible for them to change their destiny. And if you skew the numbers and you take away the right to vote and you leave votes on the floor of the voting booth because of provisional ballots that are never counted, or when you're taking people off the rolls, or when you're getting rid of early voting, I mean, it's just on and on and on and on. All the things that are done to block people from affecting their destiny. Again, there are people who don't want us as African Americans to have that right. But a lot of people would say to the caucus, why fight? I mean, just give up, let it go. I mean, come on now. The odds are against you. No, the odds are not against us. As a matter of fact, I'm very hopeful.
Ask you, sir, about this year's election in terms of what do you see in terms of, do you see any voter suppression and voter discrimination that goes on, and what can Congress do about it?
First of all, the voter discrimination is running rampant. Hillary Clinton, I think, has got to motivate the African American vote and voter, because what's happening is that we've got 17 states that have made it much harder to vote, particularly for African Americans. And if we look just at North Carolina, which has one of the worst voting legislative pieces in the country, they have systematically figured out when black people vote and where they vote, and done every single thing in their power to eliminate and shrink black folks' opportunity to vote. And the sad part about it, this is a very important time, because the next president is going to appoint probably 2 or 3 members of the Supreme Court. And that's going to make it even worse, because that Supreme Court will back up states like North Carolina. So yeah, the voter suppression is alive and well, and I'm a lawyer, and I've been encouraging other lawyers to work with these various voter protection organizations to try to help people navigate through. And one of the things I would tell voters is they need to check with their voter registration offices to make sure that they're registered, because a lot of people are being purged and don't even know.
Yeah, Reverend William Barber was at one of the discussions today talking about.
He's a bad. He's here.
He was here earlier.
He's a great guy. Great guy.
He's here earlier, and he said he hasn't seen a Republican presidential campaign that Donald Trump has ran since the late George Walker.
Yeah. This is a very racist campaign, and the idea that Donald Trump would get up today and talk about how he now that the president was born in America, to me, it's almost insulting for me to even address that question, because what he is doing is using race to delegitimize our first African American president. And what does that say to our children? You know, Donald Trump has spent years saying that he didn't get into Harvard, that he didn't have the grades, that he wasn't on law review, that he wasn't born in America. And now suddenly he's going to say, okay, it's all over. But he used that as a dog whistle to his conservative voters to get them to go along with that racist program. So we got work to do.
All right, thank you, Congressman.
All right, now.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield back.
Thank you very much. I'm going to yield myself a few minutes. One of the things that Ms. Hubbard and Mr. Mabrani that gave me chills when I read it was the 2016 opinion of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. You know, we're sitting around here acting not like it's not an inalienable right to be able to vote. And it's something they said that is chilling. And we can argue back and forth all we want. And they talked about the legislature down there in North Carolina. And this is a quote from the Fourth Circuit. These are federal judges. They said, before enacting that law, the legislature requested data on the use by race of a number of voting practices. Upon receipt of the race data, the General Assembly enacted legislation that restricted, come on, you talk about inalienable rights, that restricted voting and registration in 5 different ways, all of which disproportionately affected African Americans. They went on to say, this is the Fourth Circuit. I didn't say this. The federal court said it. Said in response to claims that intentional racial discrimination animated its action, the state offered only meager justifications. Although the new provisions target, this is what the court said, although the new provisions target African Americans with almost surgical precision, they constitute inapt remedies for the problems, assertedly justifying them, and in fact impose cures for problems that did not even exist. They went on to say, thus, the asserted justifications cannot and do not conceal the state's true motivation, end of quote. The reason why that quote means so much to me is that 1 year ago today, on my mother's dying bed at 92 years old, former sharecropper, her last words were, do not let them take our votes away from us. They had fought, she had fought and seen people harmed, beaten, trying to vote. Talk about inalienable rights. Voting is crucial, and I don't give a damn how you look at it. There are efforts to stop people from voting. That's not right. This is not Russia. This is the United States of America. And I will fight until the death to make sure every citizen, whether they're Green Party, whether they're Freedom Party, whether they're Democrat, whether they're Republican, whoever has that right to vote. Because it is the essence of our democracy. And we can play around and act like it's not, and guess what? I want to be clear that when they look back on this moment
200 years from now, that there are those of us who stood up, and they'll be able to say they stood up and said, we will defend, they defended the right to vote. Because you know what the problem is? For so many people, their rights are pulled away from them, then they got to put in laws to get them back. Pulled away from them. What does that mean? They cannot progress rapidly. They cannot progress with the rest of society. And all they're trying to do is trying to control their own destiny. I'd like to just hear your comments, Ms. Hobart and Mr. Mabrani, on the Fourth Circuit's opinion.
So we have seen since 2010 a number of states move efforts to shut down opportunities for people to vote. We've seen proof of citizenship laws, photo ID. We've seen early voting days repealed. We have seen states that have election day registration repealed, all in efforts to make it difficult for people to vote. A lot of this is focused on so-called in-person voter fraud, which there is a 0.0003% chance that that happens. It is a very rare thing. So what we have is all these measures that are trying to tap down on something that isn't happening out there, and the end result is we see many people purge from voter rolls and other things with the thought that they're going to be addressing something that isn't happening very frequently. And so that is a real challenge, and one that we've seen in states across the country. And the reforms in H.R. 1 to put in place early voting, to deal with voting machines and so that they're working and functioning, to add poll workers where we have a real shortage in poll workers so people aren't standing in line and leaving. All of these things are put in place to help create opportunities for people to vote. Election day registration is a perfect antidote to a purge so that you can show up on election day. If you see that there's a problem, then you can register to vote and vote on that day. And that's why it's so important to be looking at these reforms.
Running.
The one thing I want to add to that is that these reforms not just make it easier to people.
I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Now for my break. Hello, this is Minister Gloria Lee from the Women of Courage show. I want you to prepare to vote. That is correct. I want you to make up in your mind, come hell or high water, that you will vote in every election that is held in the state of Michigan, regardless of how long the voting lines are and regardless of the weather. Your vote is important. That is why you need to take some water with you and a small stool to sit on. Your vote will determine the property tax we pay, the car insurance that we pay, the housing that is available for seniors, the schools our children will attend. Your vote will determine the number of new job openings, the number of hospitals and hotels in our city. Your vote will determine the policies at our universities and the police force. Never assume that your vote does not count. Voting is the most essential activity that you will ever participate in your life. People have died so you can vote. Elections comes down to voter turnout, so stand in line and make your vote count. I would like for you now to listen to a short speech by John Lewis on voting. Listen to what he has to say and note the passion in his voice.
The Democratic National Convention has gavelled into session on this day 3, beginning about an hour ago. Let's go straight to the floor, where veteran Georgia Congressman and civil rights pioneer John Lewis is speaking.
Or do you want to keep America moving forward? Mine, dear friends, Your vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful non-violent tool we have to create a more perfect union. Not too long ago, people stood in unmovable lines. They had to pass a so-called literacy test, pay a poll tax. On one occasion, a man was asked to count the number of bubbles in a bar of soap. On another occasion, one was asked to count the jelly beans in a jar, all to keep them from casting their ballot. Today, it is unbelievable that there are Republican officials are trying to stop some people from voting. They're changing the rules, cutting polling hours and imposing a requirement intended to suppress the vote. The Republican leader in the Pennsylvania House even bragged that his state's new voter ID law is going to allow Governor Romney to win the state. That's not right, that's not fair, and that is not just. And similar efforts have been made in Texas, Ohio, Florida, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and South Carolina. I've seen this before. I lived this before. Too many people struggled, suffered, and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote. Together to ever turn back. So Democrats, we must not be silent. We must stand up, and speak out. We must march to the polls like never, ever before. We must come together and exercise our sacred right. And together, on November 6th, we will re-elect the man who will lead America forward, President Barack Obama.
For the past 2 months, I have discussed breast cancer in Black women. Recently, it occurred to me that I had not heard from males in the area. Not one man had written or called me for information on breast cancer, nor has any male volunteered to help our breast cancer campaign. This caused me to wonder why. I hope the answer is not that males think breast cancer is a woman's issue. It's not. It's a family issue. It's a marriage issue. It's a community issue. It is an issue that concerns us all. The loss of one member of our community is devastating. Everyone is affected by the death, either directly or indirectly. The death of a parent can lead to angry children and devastated husbands. The death of a parent can lead a child to criminal behavior. Breast cancer is serious business, not just because of the death, but because of the aftermath, the horror breast cancer leaves behind. This is why, as a community, this disease must be fought at all costs by all of us. You have mothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and granddaughters, all at risk for breast cancer. Yes, women die of other diseases, but breast cancer is the most insidious disease of them all. I noticed I have not seen one man download the PDF file, Black Women and Breast Cancer, and send the file to any of his female relatives or friends for that matter. Why? You are concerned. So I would like for you to participate with me. Go to https://nisv.info and download the PDF file Black Women and Breast Cancer and send it to 5 of your friends. Also, please sit down and read the booklet. It's filled with information. One of the most important things about the disease is that we understand it. By understanding the disease, we can ask more informed questions of our doctors. Do you know how many people die or are injured each year because they take medication improperly? There is a reason why pharmacists insist on putting warning in our medication. This is why it's important that you learn to read. Medication errors are a problem with people who cannot read and or are afraid to ask their doctor questions because they don't want to appear stupid. When you go in to see your doctor, it's not your job to try to impress him or her. You want their talents to impress you. So if you don't understand something, say so, and ask all the questions you need to feel comfortable taking your medicine or understanding your illness. The same with your pharmacist. Ask him or her questions until you feel comfortable taking your medication and you know how to take your medication properly. I received a medication in the mail. I did not know how to take it. I read the directions, but it was not clear to me how to take the medication properly. I was truly frustrated because I knew I was a competent reader. I drove down to the VA Medical Center and asked the pharmacist to show me how to take my medication. The pharmacist didn't say a word, but she came out, sat down, and demonstrated how I was to take my medication. And she discussed the actions the medication would have on my body. I left her knowing more than I did when I arrived. On another occasion, I received a phone call from a pharmacist, and she told me immediately to stop taking 2 of my medication because there was a contradiction. Both medications had been prescribed by doctors, but it was the pharmacist who noted that error. So don't feel stupid asking questions of your doctor or pharmacist. That is their job, to help you with the care of your body. This is why the booklet, Black Women and Breast Cancer, is so important. It's filled with information. The information is presented in such a way as to make you aware of what you did not know or understand. This awareness should prompt you to ask questions of your physician. All cancers are not the same. This is why family history is so important. The booklet was also written to let Black women know that their cancer can be more virulent and more progressive than others. The book was also written to inspire Black women to become more involved in the research of their particular breast cancer. Who's doing the research? Where is the research being conducted? And how is this research being funded? And by whom? I believe we can have a significant breakthrough with cancer if Black women become more aggressive in funding research. Join us to support our campaign by purchasing a book. See our advertisement. We have great gifts for men.
Hi, I decided that at the end of every show for the next year, I would share excerpts from a book that I believe would enhance your life and make you a stronger thinker and problem solver. All characteristics that will help you win at life and raise stronger and healthy children. Many of you turn your nose up at reading, or you snub the advice that you must read in life to succeed, or you compare the cost of a book to getting a new pair of shoes or getting your hair done or your nails done. The reason why you make these cost comparisons is because you do not truly value a book. A book is a magnificent instrument that can change the course of your life and the lives of your children. In later shows, I plan to discuss with you how a book changed the lives of certain people. I understand that you do not earn a lot of money, and this money is valuable to you because of all the things you see advertised that you desire, and you do not want to spend a lot of money on a book. A new pair of shoes is more valuable to you than a book. If you truly cannot afford a book, then you need to go to the library and take your children with you for a day of reading. You must gird your loins and proceed at educating yourself. Some of you seem to think that having a conversation with your stupid girlfriend or your stupid boyfriend will help you more than reading a book, when actually having a conversation with your loudmouth girlfriend or loudmouth boyfriend is merely a cathartic, allowing you to blow off steam and proclaim how life has been so unfair to you. What you do not realize is that the advice coming from your do nothing girlfriend or your do nothing boyfriend is advice coming from a fool. Your do nothing girlfriend is a sexual opportunist looking for a man she can impress with her body. When her vagina fails her, what will your girlfriend do but go to work at McDonald's or Wendy's at the age of 60 and continue to spread her ignorance at church? Her daughter will be on the street and her son in prison. She will never realize that her life is the result of the decision she made not to educate herself through reading. All her life, she felt that she had something better to do than reading. She had something better to do than reading with her children. She had something better to do than working with her children. And that was going to the bar, trying to entertain a man, or trying to find some man that would buy her a pair of shoes. A man spending money on her was more important than educating herself. In later shows, I'm going to spend a great deal of time giving you some examples of fools. These are people who think they are smart, willing to trade their body and integrity for a dollar bill. These people end up in the cemetery after lamenting each and every day of their lives about their unfulfilled dreams. Do not be upset by the use of the word fool. You tell me if a woman is not a fool to instruct her grandson to kill her husband for a $25,000 life insurance. Let that sink in for a moment. Instead of instructing her grandson to make something of his life, the grandmother instructs her grandson to become a murderer, to kill his grandfather. I have this anecdotal advice for you about reading. Listen to this short true story. A friend and I were talking. She said a woman she knew called her and sought to renew their friendship. During their conversation, the woman told my friend that President Trump had done so much for black people, and that's why she voted for him in 2016, and she was going to vote for him again in the upcoming election. My friend asked her a question. She said, "Tell me some of the things that Trump has done for black people." The woman said, "A whole lot." My friend persisted and asked her to name one thing that Trump had done for black people. The woman could not. The woman kept using the phrase, "a whole lot of things." My friend said after a while she stopped talking. Finally, the conversation was over and my friend hung up. My friend said, as she hung up, she made up her mind right then that she would never renew her friendship with this woman. Now ask yourself why. Why would she not renew her friendship with this woman? You can answer this question in 2 words. The woman was a poor thinker. She never investigated anything that was told to her. Whether you know it or not, a person who is a poor thinker, who does not examine his or her thinking, is a very dangerous person indeed. Think about it. Today I want to discuss the book, Be Not Defeated in Hard Times. I'm introducing this book to you because I want you to realize how much you can learn about your life and the lives of others by reading. It's important that you read. Please, please start reading because reading can truly change your life. This book talks to you about fighting, standing up for yourself, believing in yourself, and changing your life. When you are faced with adversity, every human being is called upon to stand up. This book is designed to give you the strength to do just that. One of our pocket-sized devotionals. With this book at your side, you can reach for encouragement, refreshment, and the strength to fight life's battles. You do not have to stick your head in the sand. You can stand up. We want to remind you that you can win at life. Life is a joyful experience that is supposed to be filled with happiness and at God's helm. This book will help you to stay mindful of your responsibilities to God and yourself. Your family will benefit from your diligence. Before you begin to read the book, Be Not Defeated in Hard Times, please read Isaiah 65, verse 24 several times. Now read the verse Jeremiah 33, verse 3. Read that several times. Now, God said in Isaiah 65:24, and it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I shall hear. Firmly implant this verse in your mind so that every time you think of praying, you will say this to yourself: God is going to hear me. God said, before I finish praying, he shall answer me. Yet here I want you to stop for a second. There is one rub in this passage that sends people reeling. You will be right in believing God will hear you and he will answer your prayer, but he may not answer your prayer as to way that you wish. He may provide what he thinks is right for you, but you may not be in agreement. What you pray for may not be what you need. Therefore, when we do not receive what we have prayed for, we think that there is not a God or God doesn't care for us. You must understand that God can see further down the road than you. You may be praying to purchase your first Cadillac, but God knows one of your children will develop a life-threatening disease and you will need more money to hold your house together. So if you purchase a Cadillac, will you have to wait until the emergency blows over? Think about it. You will need that money if your child develops a life-threatening illness. Read Isaiah 65, verse 24 to yourself each day. This will keep you hopeful. It will give you courage to face the day. This passage tells you you can rely upon God. This passage is one of the most powerful verses in the Bible. It is the foundation of your relationship with God. He says, I shall answer you before you finish speaking. Man cannot perform this as well. Man has to consult his maps and charts before he can tell you about the weather. And man surely cannot tell you what will occur in the future. Count on God. That is correct. Count on God. Stop relying on the world to tell you what to do. Now consider this. In the 1960s, man told women that it was all right to shack up with a man. We will no longer judge you harshly. It is okay for you to have a baby and not be married. You can just stand on a mound of grass and pledge yourself to one another, and that will be fine. Well, what is the results of this promise? Devastation. We have 25 million children running around this country living without their fathers, and many of them have been turned into monsters. No, not one of these children is eligible for Social Security because they do not bear their father's name. Their father's name is absent from their birth certificate. The male children who have been abandoned are so filled with rage and anger that they are killing women at an escalated rate. There is a man sitting on death row in Tennessee, and he is an abomination to God. The sum total of his entire life merged into the destruction of two individuals who had never done him any harm. He murdered two strangers. How much anger he must have contained. I do not even know whether the word of God can help him, This man was sexually abused as a child, and he has not forgotten that abuse. In fact, the abuse is at the center of his thoughts every waking moment of his life. He saw two innocent people and unleashed his fury on the world. The world had destroyed his life with all its rules and regulations. Now he was going to destroy two innocent people. A murder like this also happened in Colorado, Texas, and California, where the sexually abused child responded to the world's rejection of him. Anytime society does not protect a child, that is rejection. Now, society can use its power to take a child from his mother, yet society does not use its power to protect that child from sexual abuse in the foster care system. The only thing our foster care system has done is accomplish the destruction of children. Why was there not work done to restore the family, correct what was broken, repair the broken psyche of the woman that was abandoned? No society should take a child from the bosom of their mother and let them be prey to sexual deviants who turn these children into alcoholics and dope addicts. Do you know there are women in this country with two sons on death row? The book goes on to discuss illicit drugs. It says illicit drugs use is associated with suicide, homicide, and motor vehicle injuries, HIV infection, pneumonia, violence, mental illness, and hepatitis. At least 3 million individuals in the United States have a serious drug problem. Several studies have reported an undercount of the number of deaths attributed to drugs by vital statistics. However, improved medical treatment has reduced mortalities from many diseases associated with the illegal drug use. In keeping with the report by McGuinness, we include deaths caused indirectly by illicit drug use in this category. We use attributable fractions to compute the number of deaths due to illicit drugs. Overall, we estimate that illicit drugs use results in approximately 17,000 deaths in 2000, a reduction of 3,000 deaths from the 1990 report. The man who killed the two innocent people in Tennessee, he could not have been raised by a father. If he was, then his father was a very foolish, stupid man. The man on death row in Tennessee was created into this state because a woman believed the promises of a man. You can shack up with a man and have a child without the benefit of marriage, and it would be okay by the world's standards. She believed this man's promise, and the results of that promise was having a son waiting on death row until he is executed for 2 counts of first-degree murder. If you can believe the promises of man, why can you not believe the promises of God? Believe this. God says, before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I shall hear. God says, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. In Isaiah 41:10, God said, do not fear and do not dismay. Do not lose courage or resolution or be alarmed. God said he will strengthen you and he will help you. God is not like man. He is not like man. He does not speak and make promises that he doesn't mean. If you are in trouble and you worry a lot, you need to read the book, Be Not Defeated in Hard Times. Go to the website, touchedbythelight.us, and read the first chapter of this book.
Life is at its best when you get to the mountaintop. Nevertheless, at times we lose our way and land in the valley. Adversity comes and shakes us in fear. What do you do at such a time? Where do you get your strength when it's gone? Be Not Defeated in Hard Times is the book you need to overcome such fears and gain back your strength. It's cheap, $10.95 only. To purchase this book, Log into touchedbythelight.us/regular-publications before it's out of stock.
Congressman John Lewis is a living legend and an icon of the civil rights movement. A central focus of Lewis's activism has been the fight for the right to vote, a right that until 1965, generations of African Americans had been denied.
When John Lewis was a teenager, he read in a comic book about what Dr. King had been doing in Montgomery. And he went to his parents and he says, I want to be part of this.
By 1963, John Lewis had helped organize demonstrations and sit-ins across the South. When he was elected chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee that same year, he became one of the Big Six leaders of the civil rights movement and helped plan the March on Washington. At age 23, Lewis was the youngest person to speak at the event. But his most defining moment came 2 years later, when he turned his attention to voting rights and helped lead a dangerous civil rights march from Selma to Montgomery.
John Lewis was on the front lines of the 50-mile march, starting in Selma to Montgomery, demonstrating the murder of Jimmy Lee Jackson, a young African American who was killed by a state trooper, but also the denial of African Americans' right to vote across the South. If they could get the nation to zero in on Selma, Alabama, a place that had a large black population and very few African Americans who were registered to vote, then perhaps there could be some action.
As activists marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, state troopers tear-gassed and beat them on what came to be known as Bloody Sunday. Lewis himself was severely beaten, suffering a fractured skull. 8 days after Bloody Sunday, President Lyndon Baines Johnson introduced the Voting Rights Act in Congress, and he would sign it into law in August 1965.
Today, we strike away the last major shackle of those fierce and ancient bonds.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was written on the road from Selma to Montgomery. The government responded and reacted to the power of the people.
John Lewis has helped secure the right to vote for millions of Americans. He's been on the front lines of the fight for civil rights for over 50 years. And the last time I checked, he was still fighting.
Too many people struggled, suffered, and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote. And we have come too far together to ever turn back. We must stand up, speak up, and speak out.
Become a sponsor of the Women of Courage show by inviting 10 women for a pleasant afternoon to listen to us speak at your venue. Help us change our community to one of peace and harmony. The Women of Courage show is supported by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries to help women problem solve and to help women realize their dreams. Women should believe that anything is possible. Our sole purpose is the restoration of injured women, both physically and mentally. We meet twice a month on Saturday at a local restaurant to discuss subjects germane to women. We see 5 main problems of black women that we must solve ourselves. One is the sexual abuse of children, bringing unrelated males into the home and fail to notice changes in behavior. Rape and murder of black women, failure to learn the warning signs, breast cancer, which is a failure to be examined, sex trafficking of black women, accepting prostitution as a way of life, economic trials of black women due to the inability to read or lack of education. Learn how to sponsor the Women of Courage show by speaking to our spokesperson, Renee of WHPR. She can be reached at renee88.1fm at gmail.com. I repeat, renee88.1fm at gmail.com. She will tell you all about it, or you can leave a message at the number 734-686-1444. Thank you. Our lessons are viewer supported. If you enjoy our lessons and they have been a help to you, please send the Women of Courage show a donation. Any amount will help. $1 will help. Spread our message. You can also go to our website, touchedbythelight.us, and purchase the book, You Are the Prophet of Your Life. We support ourselves through book sales. The book is also on sale at the radio station WHPR 160 Victor Street in Highland Park, Michigan, right off of Woodward Avenue. If you do not have internet access, you can make a donation to us by mailing it to Post Office Box 7688, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan 48302. Your support will be greatly appreciated. This video was brought to you by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries. Why not email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com and learn about the programs we have to assist women. We welcome women who wish to participate. Surely you have a few hours each month to help us with one of our programs. We believe that one of our programs, Recruiting Citizens, The Wall Project, Black Women in Cancer, Teach Someone to Read, will interest you, where you might volunteer once a month to help us. Our primary function is to assist women in changing their lives. Email us today. We would appreciate your help. Join us at the Women of Courage show every Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. for information that will change your life.